look at, I would look at President Uhuru in power for the last almost 3 years. His competitors were also in power. You look at Honorable Raila Odinga, he went all the way minister, prime minister. You look at Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka in cabinet for the last almost 30 years. Almost when Kenya got independence, he was in cabinet. We look and say, throughout this period, is there anything that can be attributed to what you achieved? Zero. Raila Odinga, Honorable Raila Odinga, when you were prime minister, anything much? So weighing this, we think the president has done some work. But again, as a soft skills trainer, let me tell you, if you keep on spewing negativity, negative, I can see you have a narrative that if somebody listens to you from America, he will not come back to Kenya. It will be like Kenya is finished. It's finished. 400 billion taken in the youth fund, which does not even cover the entire, that is not even the entire budget. So if CORD is going to gain some traction, please go and tell them that they breathe both hot and cold. When something nice has been done, they say it is good. Kenya faced the challenges of terrorism and insecurity. At one time, that actually affected the president's ratings so low. But again, because he has worked on it, Kenyans say this man is working. We face challenges, there corruption. And this corruption is not president ordered. People steal. And then you see the action taken. You will hear a speech on Thursday, and you'll see the steps being taken to address questions of corruption, how to deal with it. These are the things Kenyans look at and say, this man is working. On the other hand, they hear airline funerals, spewing people who are being sacked. Sack IBC, sack chiefs, sack so-and-so, kill so-and-so, jail so-and-so. People say, apana, wacha tuendelee pole pole. Let us go slowly with this one than this one who wants to finish people. So go and change tact if you are going to move from 25 to 28, so that at least we have a runoff. But at this rate, it will be 60 against 40.
All right, let's keep it with that still and get into the fact that when you look at President Uhuru Kenyatta's support and where exactly it's coming from, Central and Rift seem to be having the highest percentages. And with Raila Odinga, we're looking at Nyanza and the Coast that seem to be having the higher percentages. But do you think that even going forward, it's still going to translate into votes in these same areas, Central and Rift and Nyanza and Coast?
You see, ideally, I don't know, Kenyans are trained to think tribal first. That is why you find Uhuru does not make an inroad in Nyanza. Likewise, Raila is not making any inroads in Central. But ideally, again, there's that factor of 50+1. So the little votes that Uhuru is going to garner in Nyanza, and of course, Nyanza, there's a Kisi Nyanza, there's a Luo Nyanza, Kuria Nyanza. So, and there we even have MPs as we speak.
Nyanza.
So my view is that what we need to do as Jubilee is work a little bit harder. We just put in a bit, we just place the pendle a little bit harder. And we're going to penetrate this place called Nyanza. You saw what we did in Marindi. If you compare that to what we garnered in the general elections, 2013, the improvement was marked. I think in the general elections we had about 2,000 votes. This time around we had about 9,000 votes. If you take that difference of about 7 and heap that to the presidential tally, we are making huge strides. So Coast, I don't think Coast is per se CORD. We are making inroads in that. If you look at the Mungalo, what they are calling the renegade MPs, we are going to garner those seats and the numbers there, and I'm certain at the end of the day, the presidential tally will be much more higher than it was in 2013.
All right, so the same poll also is showing that there's an increased number of people who do not even want to know what's going on, which is a bit worrying considering that those are the same people who might not want to participate in an election come 2017. What do you think we need to do about changing the perception that is being built or that has been built over time? Noah?
Reform the IEBC. The reason why, there's a solid reason for this. The reason why you have this great voter apathy that has been alleged to be behind the low mass voter registration numbers. The reason why you may get figures that are showing that majority of Kenyans now no longer are interested in what's happening in the country is because they feel that the sanctity of their vote has been taken away from them. That even if they vote for a particular candidate, the outcome or what will be declared by the referee is not what the actual outcome is. So the only way we can build the confidence of the majority so that they can approach the 2017 elections with confidence, and so that we have a truly democratic, free and fair process come then, is to reform the institution known as the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commission. It no longer enjoys the confidence of majority of Kenyans, and if you begin to see one side of the political divide cheer it on so vociferously, even in light of the numerous allegations that are coming to light against it, then one must begin to ask ourselves, why is it that TNA and by extension Jubilee are celebrating the corruption scandals in the IEBC? Is it because they're the greatest beneficiaries of this corruption? That is what Kenyans must begin to ask themselves. And also just to dissect what Mheshimiwa there posed about the numbers in Malindi being an improvement for the ruling coalition, he also needs to ask himself, in Kericho, which was previously a Jubilee stronghold, we saw up to 50,000 votes, almost half, go to the KANU candidate. So while you're gaining on one end, in supposedly making inroads in the strongholds of Coast, you're losing significantly in your own backyard. Continue chest thumping, continue approaching 2017 with this false-hearted confidence, and Kenyans will humble you and show you that indeed the leadership of CORD is what truly ought to be in government.
You know,
Yes,
I get a shock when I hear IBC. You know, Isaac Hassan, the chairman, I think, was proposed by Laila.
Even the deputy.
Even the deputy. Those are, as it were then, in quotes, these are Laila guys. So what has changed within about 3 years? Now that he lost the general elections, now that the Okoa thing has been trashed as, well, I don't want to call it nonsense, but now that they never made inroads in that Okoa Kenya thing, you know, this is a simple issue of collecting signatures. And they could not garner 1 million signatures. So are they going to garner about 5 million?
I think Mheshimiwa is coming
Well,
late
they
to the
actually did say they
conversation.
garnered the signatures, but
1.7
they were
million
rejected.
signatures.
But they were rejected because were not genuine.
Were you
These
there?
were cooked up
You see,
figures.
these are
You
some
know,
of
it
the
has been
questions.
trending.
These are some of the
Noah,
questions that we're asking
Noah,
ourselves
you know,
as the CORD coalition, which is
Noah,
that
this
the
is-
week prior to the announcement by the IEBC, the majority leader of parliament, Mr. Aden Duale, and the chairman of TNA, Mr. Johnson Sakaja, held a press conference where they gave almost exactly the same figures as the IEBC gave subsequently.
What we are saying is that
these signatures were submitted to the IEBC. How did the ruling coalition get to know about the authenticity and even the exact numbers that were presented? Perhaps you can tell us, Mheshimiwa.
the position is that much of these signatures that they brought forward were either fake, not genuine, or non-existent.
M-Pesa
You see, they would go
Pick
to an
from
M-Pesa agent, pick
booklets.
the booklet, and then superimpose that and pick them as the signatures. Number two, there was even double registration. A guy would register in Kibera, then go to visit a friend in Dandora, and equally register again. We want one single signature for one individual. And that is where there was a verification. You know, people are missing the boat saying it is verification of the signatures. You know, we do not have a data bank for signatures.
Yes.
What we're verifying is the existence of this individual. You don't just put Muriuki in Jagagwa and you assume that guy exists. You need to counter-check that name vis-a-vis the voter register. But Okoa Kenya, CORD, lashed it because they're always in a hurry to do things. And that is where you find the signatures, most of them were declared null and void, and all they have is about 900,000 at best.
No.
So we are telling them, please, you know, they keep this country in a panic mode every other time. They keep us in an electioneering mode every other time. We are from the debut in 2013. By 2014, where they want again to go for elections. Now they're saying Okoa Kenya. If they want us to amend this constitution, why don't we have that as a seventh question in the general elections? You elect a president, you elect a governor, a senator, all the way. Then the seventh question would be the issues that we want articulated. Do we want this number of senators? Do we want to reduce the number of MPs? And as a country, we'll be comfortable with that. But not every other time. You see what happened? They joke around with our politics. Yesterday or the other day, they went to joke with Almighty God. You saw what happened in Malindi. They were falling off the stage. Because they're always in a hurry to do things in the reverse, not in the right way. And we are telling them in the next 17 months, what they'll see they have never seen in their lifetime. We are going to
I'm
trash
really
them.
trying
and we are
to
going to send
avoid
some of them
falling off the
on
stage.
retirement.
Mheshimiwa now seems to speak for God, I'm wondering.
Well,
But that notwithstanding, and the blasphemy implicated notwithstanding, he's raised a very pertinent issue that I would like him to respond to.
Right.
He's talked about the verification of authenticity of registered voters against a register. Do you have this register that the IEBC has postulated? In 2013, they put forward 5 registers, 5 different registers for people to vote. Now they're telling us that they verified these signatures against a single register. Can the IEBC produce this register? Remember that this is one of the requirements to go into the 2017 general elections. By law, that there is one principal register that to date we have not been able to see.
And
Another
so
question that he
soon?
still has not been able to answer is how did the majority leader and the chairman of TNA know the exact figures of the signatures before, 1 week before the IEBC? And I can hear him conveniently murmuring in the background that he does not speak
Now,
for them.
I think
So,
let's put
all right,
this-
I'm wondering.
Ambrose,
Let's
let's
put
hear
this thing
from
to
you.
rest.
Let's put it to rest, yes.
The truth is this. Even today, as you speak, if you go to the IEBC website and you punch in your name or your ID, if you are registered, it will come out. It will show that you are registered in this constituency. That is there. All the IEBC did, they took the booklets, typed the names into soft copy, and compared with what they have. That is when it came out that a single name has been repeated 4 times. Another one does not really exist. It is the computer that removed these names. That is why CORD and Okoa people are not challenging IEBC to publish why they rejected these names. Because they would publish them. They would say, this one has been repeated 4 times, this one does not exist. So what do? To gain political traction, they have brought stories, cat and mouse stories, how IBCs use for registers, use chickens,
that is a fact.
This thing is a simple computer. It is a computer, unless you talk to Bill Gates and ask him, why did you bring this kind of things that now show our tricks? Your people from Kibera did not know that if you went outside in Dandora, the computer would show. Now the computer has shown.
Let me just
Okay,
respond to that.
And I hope that your response will put it all to rest.
In a very fundamental way. During the mass voter registration exercise, there were some incidences that raised a great deal of concern amongst Kenyans and independent observers. Number one amongst these were individuals who had never registered to vote in the past, who then presented themselves to register and found their names and ID numbers already in the register. And you remember that the NYS was simultaneously conducting a registration process for NYS youth across the country. They were using 177 BVR kits, and this was an issue that we confronted the IEBC on, that they never conclusively responded on. And not only that, but there were individuals who found their names in registers in other parts of the country. So it's not as simple as my learned senior here would try to put it out, that you just put a number and a name appears. It's not that simple. There are people who have not registered who appear in the register.
Yes.
There are people who registered who appear in multiple parts of the country. So until the IEBC can publish one single register that Kenyans can rely upon, then what he's saying is an exercise in futility.
So how soon do we expect the Okoa Kenya to publish, or the CORD coalition in this case, to publish the list of signatures and saying that there were actually over 1 million signatures that were put forward and that could have been verified but were not verified and
What I
rejected
would
instead?
say is listen out for the top leadership of the coalition, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, and Senator Moses Wetangula.
All right.
They will give the way forward shortly.
Do you know, if you are going to publish 1.6 million signatures in the newspapers, as they were, do you know how many pages of the newspapers you need? You will take the Standard as it is and take the pages, I think, for a whole month. It will run into billions.
It's
I guess
surprising.
you people are just
It's
joking.
surprising.
There's
Okay,
nothing
let's
that.
move on,
It's
gentlemen.
surprising
Let's
that
move
the
on.
gentlemen who put themselves forward as digital cannot fathom that you can publish things in soft copy.
Okay, I'm going to read a few comments here.
Please do.
Michael Kipketer is saying code guys should learn to speak to us with some respect. They should also stop the pessimism. But we're also seeing